This is just for everybody on the planet. Um, there's a video that I watch, I believe it was through John Hopkins Center for American Indians. And the video was Oral Lions and Lessons from Native American History. Okay? And I know this because even though I had my own particular timeline, one of my biggest cries is always going to be the fact that I wasn't able to spend as much time with other indigenous peoples of this planet that would have avoided a lot of the things that I experienced by being a part of a civilization that is self-destructive, because that's what it is. Native Americans, Native American Indians, or the indigenous tribes of this planet, have a deeply spiritual communication and relationship with the female on this planet, which is the great living spirit of Mother Earth. Okay, we're sort of the stewards, okay, that defend and protect what love creates, because everything that she gives us for free. So you can understand, for example, when the way that Native Americans live in peace with their peace treaties. We collaborate with each other. We don't compete against each other. Big difference in the result of that effort. We combine the creative intelligence that we have as indigenous peoples to work together so that we all thrive together. Because we know how to manage, ourselves in such a way that we are living in harmony with the living energies of Mother Earth, who is providing for us, if you will, a biosphere with clean air, clean water, purified soil, purified oceans. The pH, remember, the biofeedback is giving us the results, of our collective behavior of how we are experiencing each other together, because we are all connected. Okay? An example would be when I go hiking up through the mountains and I realize that I can't drink water because it's contaminated. Or I don't want to grow certain crops because the levels of radiation are too high, so what do you think happens to that? So when you begin to measure or map the terrain on the level of contamination, that means that everybody, including everything in nature, is contaminated. Remember years ago when they talked about not eating tuna because the mercury levels in tuna was too high? It's like, what is left on the planet that represents what we use as resources, as food products, that isn't contaminated, that causes disease in us? Right? So I've always suggested the Native Americans, particularly Oren Lyons, because he worked in essentially a similar field that I do. As a pioneer, I went to school to learn all about the ecological stuff, the technical terms and all the definitions, except from an Indian's point of view, we sort of speak with a different language, which is through the heart. So I don't necessarily have to go through their schools to essentially send or communicate the same message. Okay? But in order to be able to communicate with those that are in that academic community that are not indigenous to this planet, there is a language that if they realize that you come from their community, even though I'm not a part of who they are because they're not native to this planet, there is a way to impart the language and the terms and the definitions that they use that I am familiar with and Oral Lyons is familiar with, that allows us to have a communication relationship in order to improve the relationships that we have with everybody on the planet, so we can collaborate together for the benefit of everybody that is here. Right? So that is essentially where we're going, because not everybody that is here, that is seeking to live in peace, harmony, and balance without their energy being held captive to a predator is where we are right now. A couple of years ago, I remember I put it up on my Facebook page, which was my prior account, which was Robert Owen, because I could feel it in my heart. And I was feeling in my heart the communication that the native peoples of planet Earth were coming together. And that we had, as Oren Lyons put it, the wind was at our back. So you begin to realize that there are positive waves, pulsed waves, okay, of information, things we become aware of, that we're healing this planet. We have the light forces on our side that are assisting us to change the equation and the way that we experience being with each other on this planet, that are for the benefit of everybody. So when I was introduced, if you will, through the internet, and this is not a coincidence, to Kim Gogoon, who has laid forth in a video called The Marshall Plan on the Speak Project, laid out essentially the matrix or the hierarchical control system that had been in place on the planet. Now, I had already known that, okay, as a result of information that I got through a former graduate of this classroom who's also Micmac tribe, which is Gaia shaman. A shaman with that tribe, which is Patty Broussard. So having worked building the computer lab at NASA and the library of information that she has, which is extraordinary, a lot of that information that I became aware of was filling in a lot of blank spaces. That allows us to share that information with everybody, along with the information that Kim had, where I realized she would not have been given that information and gone through what all that information represents in a galactic historical sense if she wasn't being plugged in, okay, to the solution of the problem and the way that the energy management system on this planet was being run, and it's now back in the hands of those people who love you. Okay? That's the good news. And that's particularly heart-lifting when I think of the children, because it's always going to be for the children's future generations that we think of, because the path